Okay, let me just continue on in this vein. So let's talk about Republicans and sex crimes, all right? This is an article from a while ago. This is from 2022 from Slate. So let's talk about Republicans and sex crimes. Because American politics are now just one long, low-rent nightmare, Republican culture warriors have spent the past few weeks slandering their various enemies as being soft on pedophilia. For some time, this sort of raving was mostly confined to adherents of QAnon, the Trump idolizing conspiracy cult that believes Democratic politicians and other elites are secretly operating a global child trafficking ring. Pizzagate. But a confluence of events has helped bring a version of it mainstream. So this was during the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearing, where Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz attempted to say that she was being easy on child pornography cases. And then when some Republicans, Murkowski, Collins, and Romney, voted to confirm her, MTG came out and said, they're pro-pedophile. And that's also when the Don't Say Gay bill was just happened. And it strictly limited public school teachers' ability to discuss LGBTQ people and issues in the classroom. And they began referring to legislation as an anti-grooming bill, evoking the deeply homophobic idea that an adult would only talk about these topics with a child in order to prime them for abuse. After Disney, one of Florida's largest employers, called for the law to be repealed, conservative social media influencers and Fox News personalities like Laura Ingraham launched a wild crusade against the company, accusing it of being too complicit in grooming. This is all galling, but is especially rich considering that of the two major parties, the GOP has many more notable and recent scandals involving the sexual abuse of minors and young students, as well as a recent track record of reacting to them with a shrug. Let's review that history. In 2006, it was Representative Mark Foley. He was forced to resign after he was sending explicit texts to congressional pages via email and text. 2015, we all know about Dennis Hastert, the longest-serving Republican Speaker of the House, pled guilty to making illegal hush money payments in order to cover up his history of sexually abusing high school wrestlers he had coached decades before. Nothing is more stunning than having serial child molester and Speaker of the House in the same sentence, the judge said at his sentencing. And during the 2016 presidential race, among dozens of women who accused former President Donald Trump of being a sexual predator were several contestants in the 1997 Miss Teen USA pageant who reported that he barged into their dressing room while girls as young as 15 were changing. Trump allegedly told them, "Don't worry, ladies, I've seen it all before." His campaign denied that accusation, but CNN unearthed a 2005 Howard Stern interview where Trump bragged about walking into backstage dressing rooms at the pageants he ran. Then in 2018, there was Alabama state candidate Roy Moore, who was accused of preying on girls as young as 14 and 16. His habit of trying to pick up high schoolers was so notorious that it actually got him banned from a local mall. I remember that. And in 2018, Jim Jordan, he was on the staff of, there was a guy named Strauss, Richard Strauss, who committed suicide in 2005, was found to have sexually abused more than 177 male student athletes. There was an investigation about how Strauss used his examinations to grope and fondle students, sometimes to the point of ejaculation. And he often ordered them to strip nude unnecessarily, and in 2 cases attempted to perform oral sex. Numerous former wrestlers told reporters that Jordan was personally aware of the abuse during the early 1990s, but chose to turn a blind eye. The congressman simply denied having any knowledge of it and suggested that at least one of the accusers claiming otherwise was acting on a personal vendetta against him. And then we get into Matt Gaetz, who was a literal sex trafficker, and Marjorie Taylor Greene defended him. On Twitter, liberals have taken rattling off this list of scandals, among others, in response to the conservative accusations of grooming. And then, in a somewhat apt turn of events, a former RNC committee staffer was sentenced for a child pornography conviction on the same day that Ketanji Brown Jackson was confirmed to the court. Then they talk about Some of us have gone further, remarking that the GOP is particularly afflicted with a pedophilia problem. Every accusation is a confession, goes on the popular refrain. Yeah, some large social media accounts have been trying to make the phrase pedicon stick. But if conservatives are going to call progressives groomers and then pose as the nation's protectors of children, I think it's definitely fair to bring up this history. And also it's entirely valid to bring up how weak the GOP is to these scandals. The way Republicans set aside the vast array of sexual abuse charges against Trump and lined up behind him has been discussed so many times, there's no real need to go over it again. But there is. The party's response to Moore, the guy that got banned from the mall, was so pathetic. Some of them called on Moore to exit the race, and then some of them in the RNC took funding. But then Trump decided to re-endorse him, and the RNC resumed its support and said, "We stand with the president." When it came to Jordan, congressional Republicans simply circled the wagons. Speaker Paul Ryan, he refused to do an inquiry. And then now he's the top-ranking Republican on the House Judiciary Committee. Even Liz Cheney defended him. So, yeah. That is really who Liz Cheney really is. And then Jordan said he was cleared officially by the report, but he wasn't cleared. It just said there wasn't a paper trail. 22 coaches confirmed to the investigative team that they were aware of rumors and or complaints about Strauss dating back to the late 70s and extending into the 1990s. 177 wrestlers or athletes got abused by this guy, but Jim Jordan knew nothing about it. A much simpler explanation is that Jordan himself lied to cover up his complicity in a culture of tolerance around sexual abuse. Either way, Republicans chose to make him one of their most powerful members in Congress in spite of this unresolved cloud. As for Gates, well, darkly enough, he also serves with Jordan on the Judiciary Committee, which has jurisdiction over the very Justice Department currently investigating him. And it came out again, that's why he ultimately resigned from the cabinet position that Trump was trying to elevate him to. So, Republicans have apparently decided that committee in charge of sex crimes legislation should include one guy currently being investigated for actual sex crimes and another who allegedly looked the other way on them. It's not exactly the behavior of a party that cares deeply about sexual abuse or about the children. Now, this was from 2022. There are so many more stories that have happened since 2022, and I will bring them to you. So far, I'm just uploading my TikTok videos to YouTube. I will be doing videos over there. I'll be uploading videos to YouTube next week. If you want to follow me there, you can follow me at capital FINNISTER 76 at Finister 76. The name is Holly Finister, and also all caps, I am woke AF. Thank you very much.